Alrighty. So, a couple of people that have never had me as an instructor before. Yeah, well, that's good. Thank you. So the spiel, if you've never had me before. Hi, I'm Mike.
I'm Mike.
That's right, right? Hi, Mike. Yeah. We think that's fun during presentations, or at least I do. My curriculum site, sccc.premiumdw.com. I'd change it to students or SCC, because now they dropped the C out of there. But if I go changing the URL on this, my SEO is going to take a big hit, and that's been stopping me from doing that. But nonetheless, premiumdw.com is my business URL. If you hit this icon up in the top right-hand side, that will take you to my business website, which I don't know if some of you saw me post on Facebook, time for some SVGs, right? I totally took a lot of the images and went full SVG on the icons and stuff like that, scalable vector graphics. And I'm not going back, Thaddeus. I'm not. They look so sharp on a Retina display, dude. Like you guys should look on a Retina display at those, although you probably disappear on a phone, but you'll still see them at 1024 on an iPad. If you ever have one chance to do that. Yeah, SVGs are definitely the way to go these days. Yeah, so for instance, yeah, so basically you take them right out of Illustrator and save them as a scalable vector graphic, right? So it's basically then a vector graphic that, you know, scales. And then if you actually view source, it converts it all to XML and HTML.
Is that a smaller size?
Yeah, loads, right? Yeah. So for icons and any kind of artwork that you did in Illustrator like that, I would recommend using SVGs. And we teach that. I'm teaching SVGs now in the typography class, and I'll be going over it. If any of you have WEB170 with me this quarter, I'm going to try to go over SVGs in the web design class. Anyhow, going back to this, I don't use Canvas. So those of you that hate me that I don't use Canvas, I'm sorry. Right. I built my system before Canvas existed, and I've used Canvas in conjunction with my system. And then there's duplicate information, like there's two different versions of the assignments and things get wonky. I am actually looking into whether I can incorporate Canvas into my WordPress site down the road. But with all my free time, I just haven't gotten to that yet. So that being said, for links up in the top right, calendar. If you want to see where I am during the day, you can, but the important thing on my calendar that I want to point out is that I have office hours. So I'm now full-time, and so I'm required to hold office hours. And although I did that when I was part-time, but everybody knows where the IT department office is, right, where Lisa is. If you're at that front door, my office is right there on the corner, okay? So if you have anything school-related that you want to come talk to me about, including, hey, what classes should I take this quarter or next? Or what do you think about me taking these classes and that kind of stuff? I do a lot of consulting and counseling for people in that. So office hours are first come, first serve. A lot of times I'll be in my office, you know, any time between classes and that kind of stuff. If you see, I typically leave my door cracked if I'm in there. If you see my door cracked, just go ahead and knock, right? And we'll answer some questions for you. Grades. Basically, how I do grades instead of Canvas is I just keep a spreadsheet of grades, and I then will upload those to my site, and you'll get a password and put in your email address and password. I don't have grades up and running for this quarter. I just leave this demo up and running until I show you guys. Then I'll delete the grades, and I'll get the grade sheets up by probably the end of this week, early next week. So don't worry about checking your grades right now. That being said, the email address that I use for your grades is the one that you supplied to the college that I have on roster. So let me take roll really quick, and then I'm going to pass this around so you can double check your email address. I have 2 sections of this class this quarter, so when I pass it around, you are section number 2. Benjamin, you are here. Jill. Ellie. Calvin. Yeah. Cornwell. Frankie. Seidel. Eskandar Kazemi. Veronica. Did she show up from maybe she was in the other section, but she's on here. Dan.
What?
Dude, what? I didn't know you weren't going to show up yesterday. He's bailed. He was going to TA my WEB170 class, but he bailed on me. Dude, you try to count on somebody. Tyrone. Yeah, I could have, I'll check it. I'm treating this as basically one huge class, right? So, Yunzu, Thaddeus, Daewon, Kayla, Aaron Martin, Christopher Mendoza, Chad, Pam Normandy, Naomi, Joss, Trang. She's out of town right now? Huh?
She's dropping.
She what?
Nothing.
She's dropping?
No, she'll be here.
Okay. Esteban. Al. Sherrod. Ad Woodworth. Anybody I did not call?
I think they accidentally had me sign up for Monday, Wednesday classes.
Let's see.
So I just switched that around.
Anna Wong, here you are. Let's say it like this. I don't care when you show up. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
So for some reason, I can't make it to the Tuesday class, and I should have a Monday class.
Yeah. You know what? I won't even know that you're in the wrong class. Is pretty much how it would be. Ron, are you need me an autograph? And what was your name?
Danielle, I signed up this morning, so.
Okay, so you're, yeah. And
Yeah.
what's the last name?
Yeah, same thing, signed up this morning.
Okay, so you're just not, I printed these out Sunday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, the first couple of pages are section 1. The second couple of pages are section 2. Go ahead and check your email. If you are not on the list, just handwrite it on there for me. Sure. Well, it's my fancy pen. So as well, then contact. If you need to contact me, please do start out by using the form on my contact page. It will prepend the email with student in brackets, so I know it's from a student. Because if you just send me an email without me seeing that it's from a student, it might just, I might think it's spam, right? I don't mean to be offensive, but especially if you're trying to write an entertaining headline or subject, which I appreciate, don't get me wrong, I appreciate those, right? But I may think in spam, so calling it out as student, you will get, it'll prioritize you, Shad, is what I'm saying, right? So do it that way. As well, I need to update this. Chris Sullivan is no longer the dean because we're not in BitPen anymore. We are now moved under science and math, which is that building. And we are now science, technology, engineering, and math. And Wendy Rockhill is the dean, so I need to update that. Lisa Sandoval is now the associate dean. So she got a promotion, but her info is still the same. Michelle Del Rosa's information is still the same. We also have a new, I don't know, has anybody met Megan? Like student advisor? Is that her title?
Something like that.
Some student services advisor, something, yeah.
Discuss title too much, but.
Yeah.
It's great on consulting about what you want to take.
Yeah. So we have a new advisor, a new counselor, a new whatever her title is. Her name is Megan. She's real nice and she's helpful. And so, yeah, what classes should I take? That also is something that is her domain of stuff. And again, like I said, I'll put that up there relatively soon. As well, you know what I forgot to do today, Adam? Maybe I did do it. So we are in Web 170. I did put both sections in there. Look at me doing something. Yay. So this is, so you can find Web 170 here underneath my Web 170 link. But look at that. It's gotten stuck in the cache. It's still ITC 298. If I empty my cache, that'll be Web 204, right? Some of you may see it as Web 204. Anyway, it'll update. ITC 298 is now Web 204, but it got canceled this quarter. That's another story. Don't worry about it. This class, Web 170, Content Management Systems with WordPress. Here we are, spring 2017. There are two sections, Monday, Wednesday, 1 to 2:50, or Tuesday, Thursday, 5 to 6:50. Again, I don't care if you show up for one or the other. I just don't. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this like it's just one big class with two sections, right? So I'm just going to take the grade roster and compress it, and the list of when I start grading you guys that I'll show you is just going to be one giant list. So currently this is a 4-credit class. And guess what, Chris?
It's gonna be 5.
It's going to be 5, yeah. Yeah.
Every class we take.
Well, here's the thing.
Next quarter.
Yeah, here's the thing. You guys got here at a really interesting time in this department where we are, Lisa wants all the classes to be 5-credit classes. And so we're saying, all right, that sounds great. Let's do that. And so we're upping a lot of the credits. We're also talking about possibly actually making Web 105 and Web 200 just into Web 200, making that a little bit bigger and dropping Web 105. We're talking about certain changes, evaluating.
Really convenient changes for this.
Yeah. So don't be mad, Chris, because I mean, look at all you've learned, right? So, or Chris, you know what? You can be mad if you want to ruin your own life and just like harbor resentment, and you know, I mean, it's up to you, dude. You can.
I'm pretty good at that.
You pretty good at that? Yeah. Okay. So 44 class hours right now. Workforce education preparatory. This is me demoing WordPress yesterday. So what workforce education preparatory means to me, it basically means that, well, I've made some money doing this, and I can show you how to do it, and hopefully you'll make some money doing it, right? I mean, that's basically what it is, right? So, man, I've done a lot of WordPress work, and have gotten paid top dollar to do it. 25% of the web runs off of WordPress. right? Did anybody see in the Facebook group, somebody posted a why programmers, hardcore backend programmers hate WordPress?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody read that article?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I agree with their perspective, and what I'll say about that perspective is, yeah, WordPress is not an end-all be-all. It's for a certain type of site. If you have a small business, nonprofit, brochureware, some functionality type website, WordPress is your content management system. If you're Amazon.com, WordPress is not your content management system. If you have to build some kind of custom application, WordPress is not the system.
For sure, and I think
Right?
that's what
Yeah,
a lot of people like don't realize.
don't understand.
Yeah, like,
Right?
you're not, most of the stuff you need, you don't, I mean, they do it perfectly.
Yeah. But for a website the size and nature of my school site here, or the size and nature of my business website, WordPress is perfect. Because here's the thing with WordPress. Let me give you a hint about WordPress to help you understand it. Keep this in your head forever. Frankie, you're gonna, I don't know if we've ever had this talk before,
No, we haven't.
right? Thaddeus, you too, right? It's time we had this talk. Here's what I'm saying. Everything, every page, every attachment, every posting, every event is a post object. That post object has an ID number, and that post object has properties. That's WordPress, right? So there is not anything that you cannot dig into WordPress and get whatever object ID and get its properties for a group of things in a category, a set of children pages, things attached to a page, or whatnot. So there is not anything that you cannot dig into the WordPress shoebox and grab out a certain amount of things and present them the way that you need to. That's what WordPress is really good with, right? So have we had that talk, Frankie?
You know, I vaguely remember it from the beginning.
Yeah.
2 quarters ago.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in 210, right? That has to be part of 210,
Yeah, it was.
right? So Frankie took 210 already, so he's here. You're going to be my TA, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Official.
An official TA? Good. I have an unofficial TA now. So if that's the case, then let's say it like this. So here on my home page, these services right there. Well, each one of these services is a post object called a page, right? So if I want to then display these services that have a parent page called services, services being a post object, these being children of that post object, what I want to do is for the post object of services, I want to display the title, the excerpt, and a link to the children of that services page. Does that make sense? So if that's the case, then thank you. For page 185, or ID 185, which is the services page. Query posts, post parent is 185, so get the children of the post parent on 185, and get the ID of that post, get the permalink, get the title, get the excerpt, and display it there, right? So then what I did for those icons was I used then, so I made an ID services excerpt, get the ID number, and then so if we go and we inspect, then for service excerpt number 14 on the A tag, H3 14 services excerpt, go use that SVG as a background image, right? So if you understand that about WordPress, there's not a function you can't write, right? So the message of WordPress is that, well, WordPress is just for bloggers, right? Okay, well, has anybody ever gone to WordPress.com and set up a website on WordPress.com? Anybody you know of, right? So it's really locked down, like Squarespace, right? Or Blogger or something like that, where you set it up, you choose a theme, you can't go and edit that theme, you can't go and edit any code. They won't let you. But what you can do is drag and drop, add plugins that'll do half of what you want, and et cetera, et cetera. And you can cobble together a pretty good looking site that may do most of what you want, but not some of what you want, because you need to customize it, right? So people look at this and go, ah, well, it's a limited blogging platform. Well, not if you go to WordPress.org and actually download WordPress and set it up on your own server, install your own database, right? And then customly build your own theme, right? From scratch that does what you want it to do, like I want to show those pieces that link to my services page spec, right? So I can, instead of on the home page, kind of hand coding each one of those, right? So when you guys were in the 210 class, remember how I was pushing you guys like on your, I'm gonna make an example out of you, Thaddeus,
Yeah.
right?
What is 210 again?
210 is the class where I get you a nonprofit client and we put you in a group of 4 people and I say, remember all that shit you learned? Here is your scheduled deliverables. Internal review will be on this day. There's lots of yelling and crying in that class. Right, Thaddeus? He's not.
It was the meeting. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good team.
Yeah, you had a really good team.
This is prereq for that thing.
There were 2 different sets of prereqs.
Yeah.
Yes, Christopher, it is.
I wish it would have taken place beforehand. Luckily, everybody else on my team had it, so.
So for instance, Thaddeus was part of the team. He was a designer on the team. How much of the WordPress stuff did you touch, the code?
Not a lot.
Not a lot?
Yeah.
So basically for stuff, so this is a project that was done in that class. So for stuff like apply, grant, about the fund, donate now, they could have just kind of hand coded that on the home page and did the links, whatever. But I really tried to encourage everybody to do things dynamically and pull it through the system, right? To then, if you have an apply for grant page, code it to where you need for that page to then bring in an icon, a title, and an excerpt versus hand coding that stuff.
So what's the
Well, what if one of these changes, right? Or let's say somebody rewrites this excerpt on the page. If they rewrite the excerpt on that page, it'll automatically update here. Does that make sense? In other words, if this is hand coded in there and the title or the icon or whatever changes on the page, right? I'll show you in a while what I'm talking about, right? Because this excerpt actually, yeah, so in other words, let's say it like this. So if I go to usability research services, this piece of text right there is the exact same piece of text that is populating the meta description, right? So,
Saying description and the other ones that are saying just a description. and
so yeah, so they are pulling from, let me just log in and show you. That text is being pulled from here, Shad.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I can then take this chunk of information. Then who's taking the writing for the web class? A few of you guys. So we were talking about chunks of information, right? Reusable chunks of information. So I can write a reusable, keyword dense, search engine optimized chunk of information here and reuse it in a multitude of places, right? Versus each time having to hand code it in those other places. It's kind of like using the same theory behind using includes, right? You should only write something once and then take that and reuse it where you need to. So if somebody needs to edit the source, if they edit this source and it shows up in 3, 4, 5 pages around places around the website, then it'll change in each one of those instances. That's what I'm talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I totally haven't thought like that,
So
So wait, real quick though, if everything's like size, if you're basing everything on dynamic size, if you add more text, will it just cut that text off or will it just automatically?
depends on what, if you give it a character limit.
Okay, so character limit.
It depends on, for that excerpt, you can give it a certain amount of character limit. You can even give it a character limit using, string length in PHP? Is that the function? String length. STRN, LNG, I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't start off,
yeah. So length of course, 11 weeks. Prerequisites, WEB170 and ITC 240 or concurrent enrollment. So basically what that means is you need to be proficient in HTML and CSS. And you also need to understand the basics of programming with PHP. Okay? So, no?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So in other words, in ITC 240, the way ITC 240, my understanding of how it was reworked a few years ago, was you're learning, how to write conditional statements for each loops, using variables with string values, concatenating another variable inside that string value when you're writing an output, using echo statements or return statements. You know how to use arrays, both numerical and associative, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make sense? Okay? Because what we're going to be doing then is, if we look at, like I said, what this, right? This is then, if you think about it, basically programming using PHP, HTML, right? This is one way of doing it where I am using escaping to write HTML in between PHP statements, right? But then there is also a place.
Hey, real quick, what do you think the average person has tabs open?
42.
I'm always like that too.
Yeah, I am the worst. I had a student that used to count the tabs open and report that back to me at the end of the class, right? So here's, for instance, my title tag for my school website and a lot of my websites, right? So writing my own function, get my title tag, global post. So again, we're using the post object because everything is a post object. And here I'm having to say, use it as a global because of variable scope. So if you've understood that far, great, you understand what I'm talking about, right? So conditional statement, if we're on the front page, go retrieve the site tagline, which is the WordPress written function, blog info, go get the description. Else, if we're on a page or a posting, go grab the title of that page or the posting. Else, for everything else, like 404, search, any other attachment, any kind of other type of page, go again and get the description. If the post that we're on has a post parent, a parent page, go get the title of that parent page, write in a separator, the site name, separator, Seattle, Washington, etc. So this is right there. How many of you can read through that and understand that just fine? Hopefully everybody, right? Yeah, you can. I know you can. I saw you in Web 200, just totally, geeking out the whole time. So
that was a year ago.
yeah, I know. But you were so. So I got the comment in Monday's class. Actually, Kristen Delvicio was like, "But my PHP programming isn't that great." That's fine. At least you've been exposed to it. So when we start going through it, what you learned in 240. Right, in terms of programming fundamentals, will start to make sense to you of how it's implemented into a WordPress framework. So how I also describe programming, PHP programming in WordPress is instead of creating our own puzzle pieces that then we use programming logic to show up and do whatever we want, WordPress has a bunch of puzzle pieces already made, like blog info description, title, parent page, and those types of things. So what we can really do then is get into writing functions that are much more elaborate and doing what we want with those puzzle pieces from WordPress, right? So this right here blows out the notion of, oh, well, WordPress is just a front-end blogging platform that you have no control over. There's no reason why you can't code everything from top to bottom customly in WordPress in terms of getting the outputs to the page that you want, given the puzzle pieces that you have set up the way you've set them up. Does that make sense? Right? So how many of you feel a little insecure, rusty in your PHP programming? Like it hasn't really set in yet, right?
You remember that class?
Yeah. So this class hopefully will be a real nice, those are those fundamental programming concepts as applied to a framework. Oh, okay. Because you can start concentrating on how to use conditional statements and loops and concatenation in terms of writing out an echo statement, opening up a list item, an A tag, and then using concatenation to go get something that you set up as a variable beforehand, so on and so forth, right? So hopefully you will, how many of you when you're started to learn PHP programming or just programming in general, you're like, I hate this. I don't like this. This is hard. I don't like this, right? Hopefully you will start to like it by doing what we're going to be doing in this class. So we're going to do simulation stuff in this class. In other words, you are going to be typing out and coding the things that I want you to code. And largely, I'm going to be writing it out. You're going to be seeing what I write, and you're going to write it yourself into your own template system. Okay? So in terms of what this class is and what this class is not, I'll be really honest with you. Yeah, dude, I will, right? This class is specifically designed and engineered to prep everybody to be a developer in 210. You should have taken this a while ago, Frank.
Yeah.
But whatever, you'll be fine, right? You, as a TA, you'll be, right? So that's how I see, in other words, all the assignments that I've got going on in this class, install and set up WordPress, create your template files, create your content and menu system, create your theme from your template, create your main and submenu systems, create template files, static homepage with multiple loops, custom post feed, featured images, pull quote using custom fields, add a widget to your site and your sidebar. It's an easy one. Search engine optimization. I will also show you how to create a function where you upload images to a page and you pull those images attached to that page and display them as a flex slide, right? Did you guys do that in 210 on your sites?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Milo did that.
Yeah, Milo did that, right? Because he had already taken this class.
Yeah, he was the main brain thing a lot of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just did like a lot of back end things.
Okay.
It's definitely-
So maybe this actually will be worth your while.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. I thought you were totally in charge.
I mean, I told him what to do.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's Milo, right? So you
Yeah.
kind of gotta, you kind of gotta go big brother on Milo,
Yeah.
right? Because he's sort of a babe in the woods still.
Yeah.
Right? He's young. He's an awesome kid.
19.
He's 19 now?
19.
19? Yeah, he was running start. Like he's a smart little, yeah. So it's easy to embarrass him too. So if he hears us talking about him on tape, like his cheeks will get really super red.
Is he part of the group, the web development group?
I don't know, he's got long black hair.
Is he one, I don't know, I've seen a picture, I think it's him.
Yeah.
And Sheriff's today.
I don't know. He's awesome. That's all I'm saying. So let's not spend too much time on Milo. So this course then gives an overview of the basic principles and practices of professional website design while on content management and custom theme creation, using the open source technology for WordPress. So students will design and develop a website for a small to medium-sized business or their own portfolio site while focusing on the development principles associated with the use of WordPress. So this is not a client class, though, by any means. So what we are doing in this class is you need a project to work on. That project that I want you to work on is basically I want you to convert. Let's pick on Christopher. He loves when I pick on him. So let's say you took Web 200 last quarter. Don't go deleting it right now, Christopher. What? What if I went to it yesterday and saw it yesterday?
Oh, jeez. I missed my chance to rickroll you.
Dude. You should go watch yesterday's videos, man. You're all over the place. So here's the website that Christopher did in Web 200. Okay. Yeah. So here's a real nice touch, right? So looking at his logo with the leaf, and then his call to action button with the leaves. I mean, that's awesome.
Right.
That ties it all together, man.
Right.
It just right.
And the fan account.
Yeah. And the sad polar bears. Although they look too fat for polar bears these days, though. Yeah. So, but basically, you all need a project to turn into a WordPress site, right? So what I suggest is, if you took Web 200 or are not completely sick of that project, use this project then to do the work in this class. Here's what your final site is going to look like. So let's say it like this. Yeah, totally. Wait for it. So in my HCD 532 class that I teach up at the UW, which is basically kind of a compressed Web 110, Web 120, the final website in there is basically a website built to a certain predetermined specification that we hand coded this thing together all the way along through, right? And so it has a few main pages, right? It has on the home page, it has a flex slider, and it has an area for some widget boxes, okay? So what I need you to do is you need to have some kind of something like this in your back pocket that you can then make into a template system, okay? So meaning that how many of you have taken Web 120 or Web 200? All of you have had to take Web 120, right? How many of you had a final project in Web 120? Great. Do you hate it? That's fine, I don't care. I hate everything I ever do, Joss, it doesn't matter, right? So there's not a project I do that I like these days, just never. But what you can do then is you need to where is it? Make things into a set of templates, okay? So you know Chris, let's just use Chris as an example, right? Because he loves that. Yes, he hates it. That's why I keep joking. So you need a project that you need to turn into a template system like, oops. You need to have a home page, a main page, and a style sheet, and something in its entirety, right? So instead of going back to the templates that you started your prototype with, here's what I recommend. You need to then make that site into main.html, home.html, styles.css, okay? Or whatever style sheet.
How do you do just for the home and main page?
We use the same home and main pages from what you.
There's your template code right there. You just view source.
Wouldn't you want just two different pages?
Well, you're going to make a multi-page site, but you need templates to work from.
I suppose.
In other words, we are going to get to the point where you are going to take your templates and you need to make things into a theme. So to, let's say, access the style sheet file, when we get there, we're going to use the function blog URL to load the style sheet. Does that make sense? So instead of, Trang is here. Hi, Trang. So when I learned how to do WordPress way a long time ago, right? What I did was I downloaded a theme, pre-existing theme, that had the blocks of content that I sort of needed. And I reverse engineered that into my band's website, right? With its own look and feel, okay? Which is one way to go that I'll call the wrong way to go, right? Instead of using a pre-existing theme and putting your HTML and CSS into that, right? In other words, having all the WordPress functionality, you should go the other way. You should have your templates, right, that you built like you did in Web 200, right? And then make that into a theme by putting in the WordPress functionality in the theme. That's what we did in the 210 class, right? So therefore, with your templates, you are then going to start, this is the first piece of WordPress functionality that you're going to put into your website, is accessing the style sheet. So what everybody needs to do then is, look at me closing tabs.
I'm a little bit disappointed, honestly.
That I'm closing tabs?
Yeah.
Why?
You hadn't even hit 20 yet.
It's not the amount of tabs that matters.
I don't know, but it's hard.
So when I go to grade you guys, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a page for spring 2017. That's going to have all your names on it, right? And so let's see.
You know what's funny? I was looking at that list the other day, and I'm like, man, I'm not even on a list. And
Yeah.
you do like that, I'm like, oh
Yeah, because I haven't made your thing yet. Because what you need to do is you need to give me a staging area or a portal page or whatever that has links to, I need to view your templates, I need to view your GitHub repository, and I need to then view your prototype theme, your WordPress site, okay? So here is then Anna's homepage, main page templates. So if we view it, she converted this, her Web 200 project, into her template here, right? Here's her, oh, this is her whole repository. So here is her home.html, here is her main.html, and then from those files, she went and added all the WordPress loop functionality stuff into it week by week by week by week. So yes, you are going to build a website that is, you know, your travel one, right, or whatever, whichever one you choose, but you're still then going to adhere to my assignments to just add into it as a prototype, just to add in the WordPress functionality to build a WordPress site, right? A lorem ipsum WordPress site, okay? Does that make sense?
And so by the end of this class, will we be able to, will it be set up for WordPress where you can just, you know, go to the CMS and add content?
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to use this as a precursor of, oh, I'm doing it for the assignment in this class, but I'm also looking through the lens of this is going to go live down the road, yes, you can use this as an exercise to rebuild that website using WordPress as a content management system. It may have a few things in it that you might not be doing in the real world, but I'm having you do them just as exercise sake, but you will still have a WordPress to modify and edit and continue with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah, so basically in this class, you are going to be learning how to install and set up WordPress to your own server, add and manage content through WordPress, use, customize, and create WordPress themes. So we are going to use a pre-existing theme at one point. We are going to install a pre-existing theme. So then you can see how WordPress uses a pre-existing theme. And then you can set up the content, the pages and stuff, like you guys remember did in the 210 class, Thaddeus, right? You guys used whatever pre-existing theme. You took your page tree from the information architecture, made those pages, put in lorem ipsum text. You know, so we're going to do that kind of stuff in here, right? And then start creating your own theme from your templates and use and customize WordPress functions and loops, install and utilize plugins and widgets, and then you'll have a WordPress website of your very own to impress your friends. And or put that on your resume and make $60, $75 an hour doing WordPress work for people. At least that's what I charge for WordPress development, right? So, if 25% of the web runs off WordPress,
Really?
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I've had lots and lots of clients. I've built quite a few themes from scratch that I designed. I've built some themes from scratch that other people have designed. I've taken care of WordPress sites that they bought a pre-existing theme and all I was a content manager and did a whole bunch of put in a bunch of content and then did some CSS work and stuff, all the while charging $60 to $75 an hour, right? So, matter of fact, y'all know Tatiana, right? I was supposed to get to updating this page on their RAW site with their new outcomes. In other words, Dr. Cornett sent me a Word doc that had all these charts in it, and I just haven't gotten to it. So Tatiana's going to do it. And so I'm going to pay Tatiana a third of what I'm going to charge RAW. Business, right? So, you know, yeah. So, there are a couple of required texts or recommended, however you want to look at them, because I know you guys don't read the books, right? How many of you buy the books and just don't read them? Right, yeah, we got one person that's willing to fess up to that, but all of you do that.
Just said PDF, I got you.
Yeah, all right. Did you get a PDF?
I got the second edition, I'm staying to get the third edition, so.
All right, all right. So basically, the Visual Quick Start Guide one.
Yeah, is the second edition okay? Because I'm in the same boat, actually.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to quiz you guys, or like I said, reading is on the honor system. You either want to do this or you don't, right? So you should be able to, just through the lectures and stuff, get to know everything that is in these books. But, you know, these are books that, this is right here, this book makes a good gift to give to a client after you've done their WordPress site for them, right? Here's how you basically use the dashboard and put content in and whatnot, right? Then the other book is all about how to customly build a theme, okay? So if we look at the schedule, the books match up pretty well to all the topics that I'm teaching here. So, you know, Beck is the quick start one, Friedman is the other one. So I put a list of the relevant chapters down, right? But yeah, I know you guys don't read. So what?
I was like, oh, no chapters.
Huh? Yeah, yeah. You know, but at least you'll have the book. And when you finally want to read what you were supposed to, you can look at the schedule and see what you were supposed to read. Yeah. Okay. But it's either that or I start doing quizzes out of the book. Who wants to take quizzes out of the book? I don't see any hands. Yeah, right? I mean, I can do that if you guys want. I'll do it. I don't mind, right? Because all I got to do is copy and paste sentences and delete the keyword. That's all I have to do, right? I mean, what do you think the Web 105 exam was about, right? So don't make me do that. Another book you might want to get is Programming PHP, although that might be out of print and not available anymore. This book here I read after I'd already learned PHP, and I learned all the code that I know. I've been self-taught and have learned kind of piecemeal over the years, right? You know what I'm talking about. You get some code and you don't kind of know what it does, but you sort of know what it does, and then you sort of kind of don't know and try stuff and break it and fix it, and then I sort of know what it does, right? So I was in that boat for a long time, and then I started reading foundational programming books like this because PHP was the language that I was using most often. And then I was like, oh, that's what those are. Oh, okay. So there's a lot of, programming fundamental, like for instance, this right here. How many of you are familiar with the colon like that?
At this age,
Huh?
at my age, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But these two colons right there. Does everybody get that? How else could I do that? If, while, end while. So, in other words, when I was reading that programming book, I had seen these colons in WordPress from like 10, 12 years ago, right? 2007, right? And I just took that for granted that it was an if while statement, but I really didn't get the context. In other words, instead of using brackets and then ending it with a bracket, you can then have an if statement that then uses the colon and then uses the end if call instead of an ending curly brace. How many of you, that's new to you, Frankie?
Yeah, I totally know.
Yeah, that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
So when I read this book 8 years ago or so, I was like, oh, that's what that does. Okay. So what? Okay. I know. That went through my head. It had to come out. I'm sorry, man. Yeah. So, you guys will need then, Go ahead. I hit a button, but I don't know how to fix it.
Control Z.
Yeah, if there was one. I hit something on this thing right here. So let's change it to that and then change it back here so it goes away. There we go. If all else fails, hit button still works. All of you are going to need to have a server environment. Okay. So how many of you have a DreamHost account? If you don't have one, you should get one, right? Edison won't work in here because Edison will not link to a database, and you're going to need database capability. So DreamHost has an educational discount program, right? If you're going to do this for a living, or even as a hobby, you need your own URL. Get on it, is all I'm saying, okay, if you don't have one. In terms of text editor, FTP editor, so we are in this class going to write code and use FTP. We're not gonna, well, you're gonna have a Git repository, but we're not gonna do it like we did in 210 where we use command line to then pull from Git, because you're not working in a team environment. I am gonna be using Dreamweaver because that's what I use, right? Because it's a code editor FTP program all in one. I started using it in 1997 and it's never let me down. So I continue to use it. You can use whatever you want, I don't care. Okay? But how I'm going to be grading you guys. So your final grade will be a culmination of your class assignments. Assignments will create an overall class project to be presented at the end of the quarter. Assignments require critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Assignments will be due according to the class schedule. You all know what that means. Don't ask me when things are due. I don't remember. I have to look at my own schedule. How many of you have ever asked me when something is due? And I'm like, I have no idea. You've experienced that, haven't you, Calvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. I have to look it up. Don't make me look it up, dude. You can do it yourself, right? Students are responsible for assignment information on assignment pages, responsible for assignment information given class. Every now and again, I change requirements just to fuck with people that don't come to class, right? And I will basically do that after I will stop I'll tell people that there's an extra assignment and I'll hit end of the report. And then I won't say anything about another assignment because I'm just trying to, right? Assignments will be marked down 25% for each week they are late. Again, don't ask me when things are due, check the schedule. So how I'm going to be grading you is you are going to have to push everything to GitHub. Okay? So I will show you, I believe, let's say it like this. They tell me that GitHub desktop is working on these PCs. Has anybody tried getting it to work on the PCs yet? Adam, you're on it? Yeah. You can also just create a repository on GitHub and drag and drop into the web interface as well. That might be easier for you guys than doing it through GitHub desktop, especially if you're working here. How many of you are going to be working on your own laptops? Okay. If you are working on your own laptop, you should install GitHub desktop for Mac or PC and create your theme as a repository. Do not push the whole WordPress enchilada up to Git. Do not post all of WordPress to Git. Do not post all of WordPress to Git. Just your theme folder. Okay? Somebody will do it. Don't worry, Shad. Somebody will do it. Okay? But what I'm going to do is then you don't have to, the only thing you have to post for me on my website is your client staging area, right? So what I'm going to do then each week as things are due, how I'm going to grade is again, I'm going to set up spring 2017, and as things are due, I'm going to link these to your client staging area. And I'm just going to go to your client staging area, which is going to send me to GitHub, right? If you want to use GitHub as your client staging area, that's fine, right? So for instance, in the 210 class, let's just go back to Thaddeus and Frankie for a second. So if you want to do this, if you want your client staging area to be GitHub, you can use the wiki portion of GitHub here to just have links to your proto sites and your templates and stuff. So either way, a regular client staging area that then links to GitHub or just directly to GitHub. From I can see your proto sites and see your templates and then see your code in the repository. Make sense? Okay. Because what I'm going to do then is each week, I'm then going to go through and you guys are then going to, as you update your GitHub account, you are going to update your GitHub account with the assignment name, right? And I'm going to go in there and check to see if you did it. If I see that you copied and pasted my code from my website, you will get a big fat 0. I know we're typing out the same stuff, but here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying, right? If we write down the same paragraph of information by hand, I can tell my handwriting from your handwriting. So if you go and do this, oops. if you go here and copy this code and paste it into your site, Emma gonna know. Emma gonna give you a 0, right? Make sense? Type it out yourself. Yeah? How many people am I scaring right now? Yeah. Don't copy and paste my code. It's there for you to see, right? But it's not there for you to copy and paste. You will notice that I comment my code extremely heavily. So if I see all my comments in your code, I'm going to know you copied and pasted it, right? Because what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be writing out all this stuff by hand during the lecture sizes. You can, if you can, keep up during class and implement it into your site, great. Or just pay attention to what we're doing and then later on go use the video of what we did to then implement stuff into your site, right? Because I'm not going to, I mean, basically the videos of what we're doing is we're in step 1, step 2, step 33, you're done, finally, okay? So I'm going to be hand coding stuff out in class, and I'm going to expect you to then write out all the code by hand and make your own comments and that kind of stuff, right? But yeah. That gets me to the Code of Ethics. All downloads provided by the site or the intellectual property of the respected authors are available for example and resource purposes only. Students are expected to create their own designs, produce their own work, and write their own code. Turning in downloaded and copied or pasted code as your own assignment work is considered to be plagiarism, is subject to disciplinary action by the college. So we all use plugins like Flex Slider or a Lightbox kind of thing. But those are plugins that then we can attribute to the author, right? I don't expect you to write a Flex Slider. That's a plugin. But I do expect you to write your own loop and write your own conditional statements, your own HTML, and your own CSS. Does that make sense? You know, and if you're writing a toggle menu like we did in Web 200, that's some really simple jQuery code, right? Click this to toggle that. Ta-da! Right? Notice it's really silent here right now. People are like, oh, fuck, man. What? I have to write my own code? What? Americans with Disabilities Act, students with documented disabilities, etc. If you need accommodations, please go fill out the paperwork in room 112, 11, 12, and bring me the paperwork so we can accommodate you. Okay? Any questions?
Just think of how many edit your comments out of your code.
Yeah. 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 You know what you should write instead? I'm not going to get a job. I'm not going to get a job. I'm not going to get a job. You should replace every single comment of mine with I'm not going to get a job. I won't know what I'm doing.
No, I think you're right. I think maybe typing it helps you learn to just close it copy paste.
Well, it does.
It
It absolutely does. Every programming book I've ever, let's just do it like this. Let's go to this book. Every programming book like this, you know, says don't copy and paste that code, even though we're supplying you the code. Okay? Don't copy and paste that code, even though we're supplying you the code. Write it out yourself, right? So that you start to learn. In other words, I understand that it might take you a while to get to the point where you can just write all this stuff out by hand. How many of you could write out that stuff by hand right now? Any of you? The only way you're gonna get to that point where you can just have a concept and program it, because you have a concept that you need to put into code, is to write out stuff, even if you're doing a simulation to start out with. Because as you're doing a simulation to start out with, you are gonna realize that's how that works. That's how that works. That's how that works. This isn't that hard, right? It's seriously like learning Spanish or German. The more you write it out, the more you speak it, the more it's just gonna become second nature to you. You guys have got to get to that point, otherwise you're not gonna get a job. I'm not trying to scare you guys, maybe a little bit, I do enjoy it a little bit, right? But it's true, right? If you can't code, I mean, how many of you could go up to a whiteboard and write all this stuff out? That's the kind of stuff that you're gonna have to do in an interview. Write out a WordPress function for et cetera. Write the loop out. I mean, you might misspell stuff and have some errors up on the whiteboard, but at least you can, you know the theory of, for each main pages as main, if the page is the one or the main with its ID, echo a list item, go get the main ID, so page item number, current page item, else if the parent ID is equal to the main ID, if those are the same. That took me a while to get working. I found a bug in WordPress that, to my advantage, that I did that. It's hard to explain. But, else if echo this, get the ID, write in current page parent is the class, else echo, right? You guys need to start getting to write that kind of stuff. Conditional statements for each loops, concatenation. This variable equals this. I want to echo or use a variable that then I return that variable at the end where I'm concatenating the output, right? But you guys need to get to that spot. So if you, in this class, as we're doing that in the videos, now you'll notice when I'm writing stuff out, there's going to be times where I'm going to have to refer to my code. Because yeah, I can write it mostly, but oh, what is that one thing? Oh, what's that? What comes before what? Those little things, right? I'm going to have to refer to resources. Every developer refers to resources, right? So yeah, you will get, my aim is to make you a better programmer as well. So to have you guys write out stuff like this in WordPress is going to get you to be a better programmer. Make sense? All right, so let's stop there for today. And then on Thursday, we'll talk what is WordPress, go into a little bit of the dashboard. And then what else are we supposed to talk about? See, I have no idea what I'm supposed to talk about from day to day. The anatomy of a WordPress site, yeah. Any questions? Sounds like you're gonna have some fun, Chad.
We use our 202 website.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can use whatever you want. You can come up with something new. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't have all your prerequisites, but I think I can do it.